Hey, 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 welcome back to Goals and Greatness Podcast, your weekly dose of business banter, big ideas, epic fails, and the systems that make the dream work. With your favorite duo, Kat and Lou.
Double the expertise, double the fun. I'm Lou, your navigator on this wild ride of risk-taking and rule-breaking.
And I'm Kat, your go-to guru for all things startup. Together, we're unzipping the secrets of success and taking you behind the scenes of our crazy world.
Whether you're a CEO in the making or you've just scribbled your first business plan on a napkin, we're here to fuel that fire and help you unleash your greatness to achieve those big, bold goals.
So entrepreneurs, visionaries, and everyone in between, get ready to join the ride with Kat and Lou. Let's turn up the volume and unleash your greatness.
Like that. We're back. We're back and still in action. I've been considering doing podcasts like this with the mic near my mouth, like a radio host.
You look pretty,
not today.
You look pretty professional, you know? It's like
I want to take it out of the stand. I just want to hold it. I want to pretend I'm
on stage.
Like, I don't know, Ryan Seacrest at the New Year's Eve party. You know, he's holding his mic and he owns it, right? This is my New Year's Eve party for my one listener. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, well, welcome back. For those just tuning in, let me catch you up. Let me give you the replay on what we've been up to. So we talked about the science of achievement and what gets really successful people, not just from A to B, from A to Z. How do they make these quantum leaps in their business, in their life? We talked about goal setting. We've talked about how to get there. How do you manage your energy around it? You know, so you've got all that in place. And then it's like, what the heck do you do next? For me, one of the things that really helps me is my circle of influence, the people that I'm around, who's giving me energy, who's taking energy away. But it's not something that I've always thought about. We talked a little bit before about how when you're younger, you know, your parents kind of tell you, be careful with this one or that one, but you're not really paying attention to it.
Right. Like, you're going to be
the way we pay attention to it now.
like them. If you hang out with
Yeah.
them, I'm like, whatever, mom.
Yeah, exactly. Or like when you say something that your parents are like, where'd you get that from? Did you get that from, so and so? I don't like you hanging around them or whatever it is. But I feel like there is a lot of truth in that. We just don't really realize it when we're younger. So I guess a question for you is, when did you start to, I guess, pay attention to that? Because
I don't know. I'm trying to think, because I was definitely the rebellious one, right? Like, younger, they're like, oh, you got to be. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about, you old people, right? Like, I was just having fun, living my life. And I'm trying to think. I went to college, and I mean, I was just always with the volleyball players, and probably hung out with a lot of people that got me into trouble, though. So that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't know that I was ever conscious of it until I really dove into personal development. Like, in my college years, like when I started working with Cutco and I was exposed to like Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy and John Maxwell, and like just a different way of thinking and doing life and just being more intentional, right? But like, one of the things that, I mean, I think almost everyone's heard is you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? Like, that's
Right.
like oh. And I don't think that it was until then that it clicked, like, oh, I understand what my parents were saying now. Like, oh yeah, those people I hung out with and partied all the time. And then I got into trouble and I got expelled or whatever. And then this happened. And then when I was hanging around like Lisa and Callie and whatever, I was just so much stronger in my faith and just wanting to be a better person. And so, like, in retrospect, once I really heard that, like, heard it, right? I have heard it, but I didn't really internalize it. And so I think that once it did, I could look back and go, oh shit, yeah. There were definitely people that helped me be better. And there were people I hung out with, and I definitely, got in some more trouble. And it made me want to be more intentional, to not say, like, let me just let life happen, and whoever's my friend is my friend, but saying, okay, who do I want to be around so I can get to where I want to go? Like, who's going to push me? And I noticed in my early sales days, it was spending more time with top salespeople than with certain friends of mine who are lazy asses, because my friends are like, why are you working all the time? Da, da, da. And I just spent more time with them. I probably wouldn't have done as much, but being around like my motivated friends who were excited about saving for a car, paying for school, going to whatever, I was able to make $22,000 my first summer at 19 years old in 2.5 months and pay to go to Europe and study abroad, travel, party, do all this stuff. And like, I would have never gotten there. And so I think that was my first taste of like, ooh, who you're hanging out with is going to impact an end result. So long answer
Mhm.
per usual to your questions.
That's okay. I think they're used to it by now. That's
How
fine. I like
about
it.
how about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was lucky that after high school, I found our organization so quickly because I was 17 when I graduated. It's like one of the most vulnerable times. You go from I went to a school, an elementary school that was very small. There were 70 kids in my whole grade, and then I went to high school. It's a little bit bigger, 200 girls in my class. And then now I'm getting ready to go to college. There's like 20,000 freshmen. It's like a huge, huge, huge difference. And I went from bubble to bubble. And I think I probably wouldn't have done so well in those late teen years and early 20s had I not found, Cutco and that group of people, because my same exact friends who had my same exact upbringing, who I quickly within like a 2-year time frame, and I'm not knocking them, they're wonderful people, and we just have different goals in life. And I think and I'm about to go on something else here, but I think that's like one thing I think people mistake when they say circles of influence. They define people as good people or bad people, or positive people and negative people, and it's not really about that. It's more what people are you choosing, because it is a choice, to put in your circle that have similar values, similar goals, and similar aspirations that you do, or they always taught me at the different levels. You always want people that you're teaching, people on your same level, and people that you're reaching to be like. And it's about choosing people that are on similar journeys and similar paths, you know. So again, those high school friends, not bad at all, but just different mindsets, right? I want to do something more business and
Right.
be an entrepreneur. But that's the journey that I chose. And so very quickly my whole circle changed. Like, I wasn't talking to my high school friends as much. I was talking to people who were more motivated. So it was around that time when I graduated and joined Cutco, similar to you, that I really started to think about it. Things that I thought were cool and fun no longer seemed cool and fun. When I started elevating my circle of influence, I was like, oh, that's kind of stupid, And again, it's not knocking anything. It's just different journeys, different goals, different paths, and then choosing the people that surround you. And I know for a lot of people, I'm just going to bring it up now because I know it's going to be a long conversation. Family, right? You can't choose,
Yeah.
you can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends, and friends can become like family, right? So what happens when you can't choose your family, but they're around you because you love them, they're going to be around. What do you do? How do you
Oh my gosh.
incorporate that in your circle?
This was a big question of mine. I remember in 2005. So 2002 was really where this awareness came where I went, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I started just choosing to be around people that were doing the things I wanted to do or going in the direction I wanted to go because I knew that we were kind of going as a pact, right? So that was like the first kind of step, I guess. But I remember in 2005, I was in Cabo, John Vroman, one of my great friends and
Mhm.
mentors. And we were him, a couple other mentors of mine, my best friends who live in Israel, another friend, like we were all sitting in a hot tub, hanging out. And it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, like people are hammered all over the resort. We're staying in this all-inclusive resort. And we were talking about like goals for the year and like things we wanted, like just more personal development type stuff, right? And I just remember at one point, John stopped us and looked around and goes, how cool is this, huh? Like, these are the people that we choose to hang out with, that we're sitting here in this all inclusive and like, yeah, we're having a beer, whatever, but like, look at the quality of our conversations versus
Mhm.
people are talking about like, bro, I was like blacked out yesterday and whatever, like totally different conversations happening like 10 feet away that we were over
Yeah.
here. Like, oh, cool. And and John posed like he looked at all of us and he said, question for you guys, like, have you ever identified like who are the 5 people in your life that lift you up the most? And I was like, huh, like I'd never thought about that. It was the first time I actually like thought about that. Because before it was just like, oh, these people are going the way I want to go. I'm going to spend more time with them, right? But he talked about like, one, do you know who those are? And then it was like, well, why do you feel that's important, right? Like we were just kind of like, just all having a convo, like, why is that so important, those specific people or whatever. He's like, well, the fact is in our lives. And he had talked about how he called like time vampires or energy vampires, or I don't know, something like that. I wrote about it in my book, but he just said, there's people that sometimes, and you just mentioned family, which we'll talk about, but he's like, there's people that you might have to be at work, or people that you're related to or whatever, that like you sometimes have to spend some time with, and you want to, but that they're draining, and like they might suck the life out of you. And so that's obviously not putting you in a state to like show up in the world how you need to, or whatever it is you need to carry on that day, or whatever you're doing. So you want to know who are the ones that lift you up, because like those are people you want to lean on. He's like, for me, if I'm having a very draining conversation, he's like, I know who my top 5 are. If one of those calls me and I'm on the phone with something and I can shift, I'll go back and go, hey, I'm so sorry, I just got a call I have to take, but like we'll chat later and we'll continue this or whatever. And he's like, and I'm gonna go talk to that other person if I can, right? Sometimes I'm in a conversation I have to be in. And so then I just know, like, once I'm done, I want to call them, because like I know my spirits will like, really come back up. And so I thought that was really cool. And that's separate than, I guess, just general circle of influence. But it was this, and one, like, do you know who you want to spend more time with, right? I heard this again in Wealth Mastery, like a decade ago, of like, who are the 5 wealthiest people that you know, and like, and like, how much time do you spend with them? And I was like, man, I never thought about that, like I never thought, like, let me spend more time with these people. Because again, you become more like the people you spend more time with. So, how can we play with that, and adjust that? But I remember him saying that, and that was really big. And for me, you mentioned family, like there were certain people, and that it was just hard, like it really sometimes put me in a really bad mood, or it just brought me down. Like I felt less motivated, less focused, or I questioned, like, is what I'm doing right? Am I working too much? Am I, like, just different things that would come up. And it was, hearing him say that was like, okay, well, one, do I know who are the people that lift me up? Two, am I being conscious that if I know I have to spend time here, that I have something afterwards to help kind of bring me back, right? And so that whole like givers and takers of energy, and like people who lift you up and people that pull you down, there's no neutral. That was something that I remember came from that. It's like, if someone's not pushing you forward, pulling you forward, pushing you or pulling you forward, then they're pulling you back. Like there's no neutral as a human being, because we're made to progress. So if you're not progressing, you're moving backwards. And I that really resonant. I was like, oh shit, I never thought about that, because I had friends that I thought, no harm, they're neutral. But like, in the conversation we had, it made sense. It was like, well, actually, they're kind of moving me backwards because they're not moving me forward. That's for sure. Anyway, I don't know. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, and I've experienced that myself. Something that I feel really helps me, especially when you're around people that you have to be around. And I think this is where people struggle the most with circles of influence. So that's why I wanted to lead with this. Is like, I feel like awareness helps you combat so much of like the time sucking, because if you have awareness and you put yourself and you have proper perspective on maybe how somebody else is viewing something, and you can not justify it in your head, but you can at least have an understanding, then it helps you be more sure of where you're at. So let me give you an example, right? And this happens all the time to entrepreneurs. And this is one of the main reasons why people say that being an entrepreneur is a lonely road, because society, whoever, has instilled in everybody over a certain number of years that you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, and like that's your saving grace. That's what helps you, be successful, right? Like that's generally people's version of success. So it's no surprise that most people you talk to, including family members, when you give them your ideas, you tell them what you're doing, you're met with pushback or negative responses. And if you go into that conversation just thinking, I mean, you've known me since I was young, I would do this all the time. Like, why don't they understand? Why not this? Why not that? And just having those why questions, instead of just looking at the situation of like, you know, they haven't been exposed to the same things I've been exposed to. They haven't seen the things that I've seen. So there's no way they're going to be able to ever, unless they're exposed to those things, see things from my perspective. And it's not my job or my priority to show them these things, I can share and I can give information. If they want to push back, the only way that I can, not get any negativity from that is just to have understanding and awareness. So as long as you're aware of where people are at, just know that they don't have to meet you where you're at. You don't have to meet them where they're at. It, like, their words can literally just be, dust in the wind. It could just be air, and you can keep moving forward. And if through you sharing and you living by example inspires them to do something more, amazing. If they want to stay where they're at, amazing. But now, being a little bit older and, already having been on this journey for a long time, I realized if I just go into situations like that, then, it's not going to affect me as much. I mean, it used to affect me a lot. I used to cry over it, get frustrated over it. It could be a very lonely feeling because you're like, God, like, the people that I've known my entire life, literally from birth, like, just don't understand. But it's just knowing nobody ever will, right? Unless they are exposed and have done the things that you've done and seen the things that you've seen. So,
Things that helped you, like what, like you were younger, you had these different goals and aspirations that were not as, common for your family, same for me. But what do you feel helped you, push through there? And like, I don't know, how did this come into play and the circle of influence for you as you were pursuing a different path, right, than your family
yeah.
had?
Well, like I said, something that you guys taught me from really early on through management training and stuff is always have people that you guys always were promoting like three and then eventually getting to five, but three people that you're teaching, three people that are on your level, and then three people that you aspire to be like, and then you write them down and, you make an effort to make that your circle. And, from a professional like, and I always kind of looked at it professionally and personally because, you're going to have personal aspirations, then you're going to have professional aspirations. So I would suggest maybe like doing a circle for both. But for me, it was kind of easy. I would say I was a little bit spoiled in that sense because you guys also helped us, form those circles. Like, a lot of the top people or people that had similar goals were kind of bunched together. So we were always talking. And then as far as people to teach, we, a lot of the time, especially when I became like a team leader and assistant manager, we were always in charge of other people. So that made it easy to have people to teach and have people look up to you and push you to want to do better. And then as far as people to aspire to, I mean, I remember it was always like people that and can have in your life, but then I always wrote down people that I maybe didn't have access to, like John Maxwell, Tony Robbins. And part of my circle of influence was, like books. YouTube wasn't as big, when I was that age yet, but we had some. And so I remember I used to do the Daily Minute with Maxwell. Like, that was something like John Maxwell was like at the top. That was like the guy I like to read about and listen to the most. And I would listen to the Minute with Maxwell every single day. And that was like super important for me. And then, personally, there was some overlap, from the people professionally and personally, because they also became great friends of mine because I prioritized them. So, I mean, again, I didn't like intentionally cut anybody off. I know I've read where people will like send somebody a text message and be like, you're not like part of my goal or whatever. Like, I think it's best we part ways. Like, I don't think it's necessary to do that with people. I know for some people they feel like it is. I don't personally feel like it's necessary. I think that it's actually healthier for you and helps you build more mental fortitude if you learn how to be in those situations. Like, you don't have to cut anybody off. You don't have to just be like, no, I'm never going to talk to you ever again, because the world is small, life is short. You're likely going to see people again. So it's better to learn how to like handle yourself in those moments, because if you just try to create another bubble for yourself, this is coming from somebody who was in a bubble her whole life. If you just create another bubble for yourself, the second that you're faced with, somebody who's negative or any kind of adversity, like, you're not going to know how to overcome it. And it's going to be way worse for you. So yeah, that's how I handled it. I know for you, like, you also kind of at a young age were like in this Cutco world, but how did you really start to be intentional about your circle?
Yeah, I think that convo was a big shift for me in terms of just being aware of like, who was I? Like, doing again an audit in my life and going, okay, who the heck am I spending the most time with? Like, are they a giver or taker of energy? Are they someone who lifts me up and brings me down? and being able to look at that and classify people. And it was kind of strange. Like one of my best friends in the world was in the negative column. And I actually had a convo with her about it and just sharing, because I was like, I really want to challenge you to like up level the people you're hanging out with. Because I noticed the people she was hanging out with was not lifting her up at all. And it was people that just like bitched and complained all the time. Like, were like, victims of their life, woe is me. And these are people that she worked with and she spent a lot of time with and traveled with. And it really broke my heart to see the impact they were having on her. And for me, it was like, she doesn't impact me, but at the same time, she wasn't inspiring me. She wasn't, challenging me. She wasn't helping me be a better version of me, right? She'd always been a great friend, but she wasn't really moving me forward. And I just explained, I remember talking to her and just sharing, like, I just want to see you be around people who are going to challenge you and help you be better, And I was like, and I love you to pieces. I was like, but one of the focuses for myself in my life, and I didn't say anything about we can't hang out or anything. I was just like, I'm really being intentional in this season of spending more time with the people that inspire me, that challenge me, that are doing things bigger than me. And I'm like, shit, like I need to chase after them, And I said, and I hope that you do the same. I love you and I just see this and whatever. But I sat down and just really, I actually took a piece of paper and made a column of like, up or down, like, where they were in my like life and what they did for me. And it might sound a little bit selfish, but I think that if we want to live the life that we want, sometimes we have to be a little bit selfish in terms of thinking about what's going to support us at the highest level, right? Like not being like, I'm selfish, I want everything for me. No, but just being like, okay, what do I actually need right now? I don't think that people take enough time to look inward and go, what do I need right now? What is going to fuel me? Like, what am I lacking, right? Like, or what do I need more of in my life? And so I think that really started that journey, and I started, and it's different in different seasons. And I'm like, man, I need more people around me that are focused on this. I need more people around me that are talking about this. I need more people around me that understand this because I want to get better at this. And so it's evolved at different times. And then there's certain people that it's like, I just need to spend more time with them, And I remember in 2017, 2017 or 20, Spencer, my husband, had said, like, you need to, like, I had written down some of the most successful people. Like, I was like, I want to be around more successful people. And I wrote down the 5 most successful people that I know. And he's like, he looked at it and he goes, 4 of those 5 are going to be in one place 6 months from now. And he's like, I think you should be there too. And I was like, no, I don't have time. He's like, Kathy, you literally said you want to be more intentional. 4 of the 5 people who are the most successful people that you personally have relationships with are all going to be in this area. And it was like at Hal's summit, Blueprint Summit. And I was like, okay. And Hal Elrod being one of those, who wrote the forward for my book. And I just remember going, okay, you know what? Let me go. And that was amazing, and that was just that being around them. That's what got me to write my book. I would have never written my book, and being with Al and John Vroman and Dan Cassetta. And it was really amazing to just, be around them and listen to how they were talking, and them challenging me. Why haven't you done this? Why haven't you written your book yet? Why, John Ruhlin, who's Giftology and is huge all around the world now. And it really, I was like, man, like it just got me excited to think bigger about what possibilities were available for me, and not stay in this like comfortable box that I had that was very comfortable, but go, let me push myself out of this, and really see what's out there. And I think that it's a constant thing, now for me, it's masterminds. And, obviously I have guidance, which I helped found the women's division, and they're incredible, but I know that as time happens, like for all of us, like different seasons, it's like, okay, now we need something to, something else that we're needing or looking for, or circles to support us. And so just, I think it depends on where you're at, what you're looking for, but for me, I guess to answer, it's evolved from there, and just being conscious of what I need, who I need to be around to get me to where I want to go in my life. And whether that's having a better relationship with God, that's being a better parent, that's being a better business owner, being around people who are top right now. I want to be around other top level female entrepreneurs who have families and have incredible relationships with their families and also thrive in businesses. That's who I want to be around. Because my friends, you can't have a good family with how you work. And I'm like, that's not true.
That's not true.
You just don't know how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I know a big question people have is, h- how do you choose? How do you know you're making the right choice? Is it okay to move and shift people around? Is it possible that, and this is just multiple questions that all are related to each other. Is it possible that, somebody that you were teaching now, is on a peer level, or somebody on a peer level is now somebody that you look up to? How do you basically, how do you choose? How do you create the circle? So you know what a circle of influence is. You know that you should be hanging around more positive people. Okay, you have some tools to manage, like if people are negative. Now, how do you decide I need to prioritize this person over this other person?
I mean, I think for me, it goes back to what I just said. For me, it depends what season I'm in, what I'm looking for and who I want to spend more time with. But in general, there's certain people that I always want to spend more time with because they just make me want to be a better human. Like
Hmm.
I want to be better, I want to be a better mom. I want to be a better child. I want to be a better sibling. I want to be a better person in my community. Like I just want to be better
Hmm.
when I'm around them. So I think that it goes back to, you know, who's inspiring you to get to where you want to go or who you want to be, right? Or how you
Hmm.
want to act or react. And, who are the top five that are living that, that are living where
Yeah.
you be. And then let me spend more time with them because I want to become like that too.
Was there ever a time, I know this has happened to me, but was there ever a time for you where you have somebody on your circle, in your circle of influence, maybe somebody you value a lot, and then you realize they're no longer serving you? I mentioned that some people, like, they send a breakup text, but or you said in one situation you tell them, like, hey, almost like, I'm worried for you type thing.
Yeah.
When you come to a point that maybe they shouldn't be in your circle of influence anymore, do you take action, or what's your next step?
I think you're not proactive to spend more time with them.
That's it.
Right? Like for
Yeah.
me, it's like I'll see them when I see them, right? Where with the ones that I want to spend time with, I'm proactively seeking them out. Like
Mm.
right now it's harder with the kids, but before the kids were here, I was driving to Austin to go play volleyball with Justin Donald and Hal and people that I love and want to spend more time with. And I was driving over there and I was making a very, big effort driving 2 hours to go play volleyball and then drive back home 2 hours or 3 hours because I knew just being around those people, like what that did for me, right? It's become more
Hmm.
challenging now with 2.5 kids. But for those who don't know, I'm pregnant, by the way. You're like, you have half a child. So, but it's become a little bit more challenging. But it's this like, okay, these people are going here, and I know that I want to like just be spending more time with them. So, like, let me buy a flight and go to that conference, or let me go to this
Yeah.
party, or let me go to this thing. Like, I just flew out December, 2nd to Hazel Ortega's big gala and fundraiser in California. Why? Because the people who are there are people that I want. That is the circle of influence that I want to spend more this year. That is the crew that I just want to spend more time with. And I think that crew is going to be in my life forever, just as part of the people who just make me want to be a better human, and
Hmm.
who they are and what they're being. And so I freaking flew out to California, for the weekend to be at this event because of the impact that they're just having in the world, the way they view life and they do life. And I'm very aligned with it. And I'm like, these are the people I need
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah. So it sounds like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's who are you investing your time with? So it's just all about time. I mean, and I would encourage people, if, let's say, you have somebody on your circle of influence list that maybe you want to learn from, which usually the people that you want to learn from are like the hardest to get in touch with, right? Because they're literally on another level than you. But I
Mhm.
remember my current business mentor, who's like the storage container king of Miami. I met him through a family member, and I was like, oh my gosh, I like I want to run business like that guy. Like, oh, what do I need to do? And I just literally started bothering this man. I was just like, I would just say, hey, hey Mike, I know you're busy. I'd love to pick your brain about business. I know we only met the one time. I'm not. This is what I'm working on right now. Like, how can you help me? Hey, oh, and then like no answer, and then like another day, hey, the same thing, and then finally him calling, okay, so you want to do something. So what is it you want to do? Tell me. Okay, well, if I'm gonna mentor you, da 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 da, da, like gives you like the spiel, but like not being afraid to also pursue people that you
Yeah.
want to be like. And a lot of top people, they value that. And he told me that later. He's like, man, if I still had my business completely active, I just hire you because your pursuit was incredible. Your pursuit of this mentorship. So, just let people, I would say let people know too, right? That they're part of your circle, and tell them like, hey, like you're somebody I value, you're somebody I want to be spending more time with this year, and putting your intention out there, because if they know that that's your goal, I mean, you might be part of their circle too. They might also want to be spending more time with you. So it's just a little
Yeah.
tidbit for our listeners.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. And yeah, and to go back again with what you're saying before, again, if you're, I guess, actionable items, leaving here, one, do an audit. Who are you spending the most time with,
Mhm.
right? And then also make a list. Who are the most successful people I know, or who are the top in this, or, any areas that you really want to progress in, right? Because I think that you can do this like in different circles, right? Maybe there's like health wise, like these are people I want to, hang
Right.
out, talk with this about because like they're just on it with this, these are people. And then I have my overall, but I have people that spiritually, like I want to spend more time with because of how they impact me there. There's people in this area, and then there's some that are, overall, but do an audit so that you can, be intentional. Like I don't think you have to send a breakup text, but then you're just not going out of your way, to like spend time with them. You see them when you see them, and you don't, no worries. But then the ones that you want to spend more time with, you put in that extra effort to get together, to get to coffee, to get to wherever. And I've heard stories of, how you were saying that pursuit of someone you wanted to spend time with. Some of the most successful people I know and mentors of mine have shared these stories where they're like, oh yeah, they met someone and the person said, hey, the next time you're in California, let me know, we'll go to coffee. And they're like, okay. They weren't going to California for any reason except to go see that person, but they flew out and they said, hey, I'm actually in town. You want to meet for coffee? And like, all right. But like, that's the whole reason they went there. And I hear all these fun stories and what came from it, from just, putting themselves in a certain position so that they could have a shot to build a relationship, with somebody that they really wanted to work with or learn from or whatever that might be. And if we,
Mm-hmm.
do that and we're pursuing, we're clear on what we need and want, we're pursuing it and taking action towards it. Like that's how we, reach our goals and our greatness and like
And we
tap it.
level up.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I have a question for you.
Okay. Tell me.
It's
Ask
a
me.
quirky question. Are
Yeah.
you ready for it?
I'm
You're gonna
ready.
like this one. Go to karaoke song.
Ooh, definitely. Oh my gosh, how did I just forget the name of it?
Give
Midnight
us a
Train
preview.
going anywhere.
Oh, Don't Stop Believing?
Thank you. I just totally blanked on the name, but yes, I know it very well. Yes, that's my go-to. Specifically on
So,
the air guitar solo, I'm pretty baller with air guitar. Just
oh,
those who
so
don't know.
a follow-up question to that question is, have you actually performed this karaoke, and do you have a fond memory?
South Beach, some hotel, when you're like pulling up downstairs, has a karaoke room. They even have props. And so I got to have not just an air guitar, but a real fake guitar while I was jamming. And it was epic. And I just remember being like, I should be famous for karaoke and air guitar right now because this was just amazing. So anyway, just, somewhere out there, there's a video, which I'll probably.
Oh my gosh.
And you?
Well, for me, I would say, anything from like the AC/DC era, or like, like Sweet Child of Mine. That's a good one. I like to karaoke. I actually have a fond, blurry memory of this. I don't know if you
Their
remember that
family
trip you went.
karaoke like every Sunday that I knew
Oh
you.
yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, they do. Karaoke is a big part. Actually, my half of my wedding instead of dance party was karaoke. Remember that? Yeah, that was a good time. That's actually my favorite karaoke memory, but the one that I was gonna mention, and only I remembered it because it involves you, but you weren't there, but it involves you. You remember that trip to Vegas we took? The one where, well, we went a couple of times, but the one the one where the night didn't end so well for me, and the next morning I was very sick. I don't know if
Well,
you remember that.
Los Angeles or this was Vegas?
No, Vegas, Vegas,
Okay.
Vegas.
So many trips.
So many,
But
especially to the west. But the one where we had to call the housekeeper the next day. I don't know if you remember that one. Yeah. Okay. Well, the night before that, you were like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go back to the hotel. I was like, okay. And then I went with like some of our friends from the region, like Cody and Lloyd and stuff. And we actually went to this piano bar.
oh yeah,
And
at the New York, New York,
yeah,
it's the favorite.
and yeah, the guy was like playing that on the piano. And I just remember like being super into it. And then next thing I know, I'm asleep in our room. But
Those are
stories from
not
the vault.
those are amazing people to hang out with, but like not if you want to like remember everything that happened. Because they're like, have another, have another, have another. You're like,
Yeah.
and then you're like, wait, what happened?
Well,
So
also like I was with Cody Rose, significant height difference there. I can't keep up with all that, so but that was that was fun and in another life, but definitely good karaoke memories. And yeah, the karaoke at my wedding was epic. You know why I can't tell you much about that story? Because that was even blurrier than Vegas, that's for sure.
well, we would love to hear your guys' favorite karaoke song, or if you have an
And
epic story.
karaoke story. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love it.
and so I think we're 1 week away from our retreat, or like a week and a half away from our retreat. I mean, no spots left, but if there's anybody last minute, we can make some last minute room. We have some furniture down in Galveston. Maybe we could bring over
We have a
from
house
the
next
the
door we can rent.
condos.
We really need to. There's another house.
Yeah,
We'll find the housing.
yeah.
Um,
So anybody last minute, it's going to be amazing. We're super excited about the group that we have, and we'd love to see you there. So check it out all on our website, goalsgreatnessunleashed.com, and we'll see you next week.
oh yeah. See ya.